you can't practice, you can't practice. You're hurt, you're hurt. It's as simple as that.
If I can't practice, I can't practice, man. If I'm hurt, I'm hurt. Simple as that.
But it ain't about that. At all.
It ain't about that at all.
You're sitting in here, you're supposed to be the franchise player. And yet here we are, talking about you missing practice.
We sitting in here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
We're talking about practice. You understand me? Practice. Not a game.
Not a game.
Not a game, not the game you go out there and die for.
Not the game that I go out there and die for.
Right? Play every weekend like it's your last, right? No, we talking about practice, man.
And play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man.
Practice. You know you're supposed to be out there. You know you're supposed to lead by example. You're just shoving that all aside.
I know I'm supposed to be there. I know I'm supposed to lead by example. I know that. And I'm not shoving it aside.
So here we are, Jamie. We're talking about practice. Not a game. Not the game. We're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. We ain't talking about the game. We're talking about practice, man.
That's right. We talking about practice today, man. And it's going to be a good one.
It's showtime. This is The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast, and your one and only source for all things show skiing, bringing you news, knowledge, and interviews with the legends and stars of our sport. Here are your hosts, Matt Heilman and Adam Schaller.
Welcome to the Ski Show, still the only media on the planet dedicated to the sport of show skiing. Cranking out another episode here today. We had Bryson Mace last episode, great podcast with him. We had the Team USA one before that. That was a really popular episode. Now today we're going to be talking all things practice, planning, and organization. We've got with us today David Rezin. Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys.
We've got JT Sachs joining us. What's up, JT?
How we doing?
Doing great. Looking forward to talking shop today, talking practices. I hope you guys learned something today. The 7 of you, they're going to listen to this niche conversation.
That many?
Well, today's sponsors are the Board Shop. All of your summer and winter board sports gear is yours at bswake.com. And by Saga Sports. On water and trampoline training you need for this summer, find them at sagasports.us.
Yes, indeed. We're getting towards summer, Adam. You don't care because you're not going to be.
I do not care.
You do not care. But the Mad City.
I do care, but I don't.
The Mad City jump ramp went in yesterday. As we are recording this, ramp is in the water. Boats are getting water tested in a couple of days. We're going to be ready to rock.
So is that on schedule? Is that normally when the ramp goes in?
Yeah, docks went in a week ago. Ramp went in. It's actually, we've been creeping earlier and earlier every year, which is great. And we got hungry people that want to get on the water, so it's nice. We don't have any water issues. Dave, you do. When are things going to be rocking for RAJ? Going to be a while?
It's a good question. So the good news is it's going down about 2 to 3 inches a day, which for us that's the most it can go down with all the gates being open. But we still are at like 9.5 feet. We get usually an exemption right around 8 feet. So it could go pretty quick here. We're still at the beginning of May, and we could be at that 8-foot mark, a week from today, which would put us on track for our usual first week of practice. So that's what we're hoping for, as long as the rain stays out of the forecast, and it's looking good right now. But normally speaking, the river doesn't open up till 6.5 feet. So it would have to drop 3 feet before any public boats get out on the water. So quite a ways to go.
Yeah. JT, how about you guys? What does preseason look like for you guys? How are things shaping up for the aqua skiers getting on the water? Work days, dock, site?
So we have our dock in at the river. That's usually where we kind of start things out, and it's been a little bit kind of different over the last few years between balancing Wazicha and the river. We kind of got full use of the river just a few years again. We were moved down a little bit, so we had a couple years where we didn't use it at all, and now we're back there for kind of in between stuff. So that's the first spot to get put in. So the dock is in, waiting for the water to get back down. I think we're good now, but the jump will go in pretty soon, and then we'll get out at the lake probably. Usually it's in by Memorial Day weekend, just so if we're not out there yet, at least the public's using that dock out there. So we're getting there, though.
When does your team fire up practices?
What was that?
When do you guys start practices?
Each year's, we're weather dependent, and really, I would say probably by the end of the month here we'll start getting going, but we're not, pushing anything. I don't think we haven't heard any real talk of anything starting in May, but yeah, by the end of the month. You
guys don't do a show Memorial Day weekend or anything? You don't start that early?
No, we're late starters, so we start. I think usually about mid-June is our first show.
Okay.
Good for you.
Right. Yep. Little update on Nick Lyman. So as most of you, hopefully everybody listening here is following Flyman Skis on social media, is following Nick and Jack Lyman. I had a chance to talk to Nick the other day. Awesome conversation. We chatted for like 20 minutes. He's making incredible progress. And they've posted some videos of him rehabbing, some funny stuff as well. His spirits are very high, which is great. He's got the right mentality to grind at this. He's starting to get feeling back in his biceps and shoulders, which he needs. He really can't move his arms much right now. Just started coming back. He's doing some walking with some support in his rehab. But just know that, I've said this before, and I told Nick this community of people is behind them 1,000%, and their life and business is on hold for indefinitely, and we're here to support them in any way we can. So just continue to send your thoughts and prayers their way. Watch Nick in his return and his recovery. Follow them on social media. They do have a GoFundMe out there as well, because they've got ample costs that are stacking up, as well as their loss of business. So little update on Nick. We've been ramping up, Dave, on the, thanks to Darian LeBlanc, we've been ramping up the Team USA social media. She's been, she's come on board to help us, along with Nick Drees, with social media. And a lot of you have probably noticed an uptick there. Applications, folks, are starting June 1. The applications will open up June 1. They close June 15. So
where does one go to get an application?
Great question. We're going to spam that out everywhere. It'll be on, it will be posted on the USA Water Ski website. There'll be a link. We've had it there in past years. We're going to link it on the Show Ski forum. We're going to share a link on the NSSA Facebook page. We're going to probably email it out to all past applicants that we have email addresses for. We're going to make sure people get it. If they, for some reason, can't find it, just reach out to us. But there will be an application, and we're looking forward to looking through all of the applicants and seeing what we got this year.
Do you want those applications to be electronic or hard copy?
That's a beautiful question. Dave, you can mail them all to
Shut
David
up,
Rezin
Just
at
You fax
River
them
Road, Janesville, Wisconsin.
shut up.
He likes the paper copies.
Yes. Everyone
Well,
else
Dave was
can
gonna
go
print
ahead
them
and
anyway.
email their copy. Adam, you can go ahead and you can write out your application if you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dave, that's going to be fun. We're getting there now, right? Like getting to the fun stuff.
Yep. We wanted to obviously ramp up the social media exposure. Darian has done a great job with that. Some other things to be on the lookout for. We try to take a step forward each year just with, again, kind of the PR. Nick Drees is going to establish a YouTube channel, post all previous Team USA shows. Also just a place that we can go ahead and plug and chug in terms of content. We plan on going ahead and building a Snapchat group as well. Once we have tryouts and Team USA members selected, to send out all the cool footage that individual members are posting of their own. So yeah, we're going to definitely ramp up the exposure with Team USA. And then we've got a couple things that we won't talk about now. We want to kind of keep on the down low, but just kind of some pull back the curtain behind the scenes stuff that we're going to do with Team USA and individuals who are applying and their journey, essentially. And we're excited about getting that out at some point in time this summer too.
Yeah, that'll be great. And applicants need to know, and this will be laid out on the application. There's going to be essentially a cover page on the application that lays out a lot of details of your commitment to Team USA. If you choose to apply, there are a number of mandatory dates as well as a financial commitment to being on the team. The first mandatory date is going to be after Division I Nationals in Iowa, Sunday night, Monday, and Tuesday. After D1 Nationals, we are having a training, and it's going to be a larger tryout group. It's going to be probably 50 or 60 people plus drivers, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to train together. We're going to see what we got before we make our selections, and then after that couple of days, Dave and I will then be making the final team selections. But applicants need to know you got to be there post nationals.
How many skiers was it last time you did this after nationals?
Yeah, I think we had like 55.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be similar.
Yeah, 50.
Similar.
We're
Okay.
at 50. Yeah. Yeah. So like we're not committing to a hard and fast number. When Dave and I lay out the applications, we color code those that we feel like are belong in the tryout group, those that maybe miss the cut. We're not setting a hard number. The people on the bubble are the ones that we really want to see in action. And so that number could be 48. It could be 62. Like it depends on how many, what the talent pool looks like of the applicants as we then dive through the applications.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There we go.
So good stuff. Lots coming up. We're going to have a lot to talk about this summer. It'll be here before we know it. It's already May, and we're off and running. So, and Adam, as we get ready for summer, the board shop is already stocked with everything you need. They have closeouts on winter sports gear right now, and they're fully stocked with all the latest and greatest for summer water sports season.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, apparel, boards, bindings, vests, ropes, handles, accessories, and basically everything else. They've got all the top brands like Radar, Eagle, Follow, Quicksilver, Billabong, and all the rest that you're looking for. When you're ready to update your summer gear and apparel, the board shop is your one-stop shop. Check out their shop in Lake Geneva, which is really awesome. You should get there if you haven't been there. Or check them out online at bswake.com. That's bswake.com.
Yep, now it's time to get to the meat of today's conversation. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we do realize this is a fully niche conversation, and maybe not many are going to tune in, but we want to make it informative. We'll have some fun. We're going to talk about practice organization from early season practices to tournament practices. We're going to talk about some pitfalls, some pet peeves, and best practices for running an effective and efficient practice. We have Dave and JT here with us for this conversation, and Adam is going to pepper us with all the questions. So, Adam, let's get to it.
Yeah, and this is very timely, right? Because up here in the north,
Yep.
Jumps are in. People are just starting to practice. So this is, like I said, timely. So We're going to start off with, I think, my favorite question. We're just going to, right off the bat, what are your pet peeves when it comes to ski practice? First question you all have to answer. Dave, you look like you were nodding your head. You're like, okay, you already got a list. Go ahead.
Oh boy, there's a lot of pet peeves, right? I mean, I would say number one, I'll probably take everybody's first or one of the first couple off the top of their list. Ladies are awesome about running on time and following direction. Guys have a real hard time with it. And so, it feels like with our jumpers, our barefooters, You really have to nail home and offer reminders, whether that be on the board, whether that be on the mic. I'm often on the mic. I like being on the mic during practices just to make sure things are moving along. And to get the guys to move takes a lot more effort than to get the ladies to move. So we start our practices out usually at 5:30 is open ski. We usually have open A-team ski till about 6:10, 6:15. By then, ballet hits the water for their first repetition. All ballet skis and ropes have got to be twinked up, ready to go. The ballet captains make sure of that. All the girls are texting one another as they're flying in from their jobs or wherever they're at prior to, and they're just on the ball. They're already in that practice mentality before you get there. Guys, they get down to practice. They may go ahead and sit in their car, text a little bit, get out, take a big stretch, make it down to the site, stretch out, put their wetsuit on. It's harder to get these freaking guys going. So that would be my number one pet peeve, I think.
All right. Matt?
I mean, there's a few when it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened in a while in Mad City because I think we've had good enough leaders. When I'm not show director though, and skiers everywhere, we talk about this at Think Tank and the show directing tanks attest to this everywhere. When the show director is not ready at the start of practice, show director and assistant are off at a picnic table writing the whiteboard while 50 people are standing around staring, wondering what to do. That's the worst, like, as a skier. And I think we've gotten better at that. And, but that wasting people's time, I guess that's sort of the big picture, is one of the biggest pet peeves is when people feel like their time has been wasted.
Oh, there you go, Jack and Abby. You heard it. You heard it right from Matt. JT, what do you got?
I feel like there should be a disclaimer, first of all. Like, just whatever we say doesn't necessarily reflect on my personal team here. But
of course, yes, everybody understands
just
that.
Making generalities and things like that. So fair enough. No, I think Matt's point for sure. Nobody wants to sit around, whether it's skiers, drivers, or anybody. So, I think the more that your organized practices, right? The key word is organized, and each team's a little bit different. So, when we had 5 boats and 100 people, practices looked a little bit differently than they do where we're at now in a Division II team. And I think not understanding who your personnel is and setting that up and being prepared for your personnel ahead of time, where you're trying to figure things out on this, that night as you're showing up, like, you try to take the surprise out of it so that you know what you have to work with before you get there, and you have a plan in place, and you're not standing on the top of the hill for 20 minutes trying to figure out what you can do with what you got. So I think no matter the size of your team is understanding who you have each night and what your goals are. And if you're not prepared for that, then you're wasting everybody else's time sitting around. So, and even, when you are sitting around, then you're just like, well, people get antsy and should we get on the water? Should we be doing something? And so there's just, I think you can eliminate a lot of that by just understanding what's going on ahead of time. And to your point is try to be as productive as you can with the time you have. So,
Well, that's a good segue kind of to my next question is, because we're about to start practice up here in the north. How do you guys structure these, call them preseason early practices? Because JT, to your point, kids are still in school. You're probably not sure who's going to show up. It's very weather dependent. The water's cold. So how do you guys structure these kind of early practices, and how do you get the team ready kind of in this early season prior to the first show?
Well, it is different. If you look at, we were down in Twin Lakes a couple weeks ago, and they have the grass is growing and things are green. We drive back up to Rapids, and we're in the center of the state, so I can only imagine what it's like for the northern teams. But and there's still ice on some lakes, I imagine, up there, or just came off not too long ago. So, this time of year is different for everybody. But I think for us, just being with our team, and we don't have the the tourism people coming in on Memorial Day for us. So that doesn't really kick things off for us necessarily. So we're just lucky to start getting people on the water, kind of getting our feet under us, and then gearing towards as June comes around, that's when we start to kind of kick things up. But this time of year is just slow. It's just maybe that's just where we are with the team, but a lot of it's weather dependent too. So that's kind of where we're at, is just May, you get out, just get on the water, nothing real organized quite yet, and then start ramping things up as you get closer to the first show.
So Matt, how have you structured these early season practices as skiers slowly trickle in? I mean, is it just getting people on the water again, or is there actually like, hey, you got a whiteboard of like, this is what we're trying to accomplish tonight?
A little of both, but like mid-May to mid-June is hard. Kids are still in school. They still have soccer games. They have other activities. You don't have your full everybody till school's out, right? And so it's hard. But we also want to shake the rust off. So we have a lot of early practices are open. And so we actually, Mad City, we have 3 types of practices, and they're named this way in our team snap. An open practice is come and ski. It's basically a free-for-all. Come do whatever you want. A full team practice is you're expected to be there, and it will be organized and led by the show directors with, specific acts in mind. And then skill night for us is a separate night. It is just jump and swivel only. And we still do jump and swivel on the full team nights. We sprinkle that in as well. But that is a separate named practice as well. So early season, like open practices for us, first of all, show directors, I hate open practices. It's chaos. There's a line on the dock. It's just ridiculous. People complain about not getting enough water time or someone butting in line. You don't feel like anything gets done, but you do want people to shake the rust off. You want people to go do more hop docks. You want people to hit the ramp for the first time. You want them to do all these things. So you're just giving them free time to do that. Open practices for us happen the first week or 2 of the season. They happen like the day after state, and then they happen a little bit after nationals. That's when we have open. Predominantly then it's very highly organized, but that's kind of our preseason, getting people just shaking the rust off, open water time. We'll organically organize big stuff within the open practices, so people will put pyramids together. They'll do big ballet lines, and that all of that will happen organically, but nothing specifically organized. We just want people to get water time.
Got it. Yep. Dave, how about you? What are your preseason, early season practices look like?
Yeah, I think JT hit it on the head. Like, it's weather dependent, and it feels like team synergy, chemistry, energy is weather dependent up here. I think early practices are the hardest practices to organize, more so than obviously when things are moving and you're in tournament season, and even after the season, weather's still warm. People want to start going ahead and going outside the box, learning new skills. That last 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior to Memorial or Labor Day is always a fun time, right? But getting people down there, like Matt said, you're dealing with, still students being in school. And so I think it for a show director, they have to go ahead and come in with appropriate expectations. You're not going to get everybody down there before Memorial Day. You're not going to get everyone down there if the majority of your kids are still in high school until probably the first week of June, even the second week of June. So I've looked at it a little bit differently the last few years. I'm doing a lot of more one-on-one stuff. I'm having conversations going into practice with, I know, individuals that either want to learn a certain skill set, whether that be, working their way into, a big axe swivel routine, if that's star swivel, if that's jumping, barefooting. I'm riding in the boat a lot more. Just because, like Matt said, it's more of an open A-team type practice, and you want to keep things moving and keep things going. But it's a great time for show directors to spend a little bit more one-on-one time with individual skiers to either motivate them or obviously take an interest in what it is that their goals are and to try to push them a little bit harder.
Okay. This next question, I think we'll take a little definition. Once we get past the early season practices, so we need to define past early season practices, and it's probably different for Janesville Mad City versus Rapids. JT, you guys is state your first tournament?
Yep. So state's our first tournament, and it's constantly like anything else. You're no matter what the deadline is, you're always counting backwards. So like, we have X amount of days. I'm sure you guys are counting back for the Merc, and it's so that's how you operate. Is we have this much time to actually, and then you like the holy shit button happens. Like we have the states in 3 weeks. Like we literally have to do this, and we don't. Like I said earlier, we don't start our shows really until mid-June, and then really that's only a month from when we start our shows till we have state. So and then it ramps up from there. So we, once we're on the water and we have to get that first show out of the way, it's kind of like you're hoping it rains for the first show and it's windy and nobody shows up and you can just get through it. But it forces us to still to do it. So, but no, and then it's just like I'm sure no different than any other team. You take what's the biggest fire, let's put that out first, and then you work your way through, and eventually, hopefully, things come together as you get towards that week of state. But each day is a progression, and it's what's the biggest problem, how do we fix that one, and you just keep going from there. So probably not a lot of different than bigger teams.
I think Adam, like
the timeline's really the same, right? I mean, it's you guys, they start practice later, but their first tournament is later. You guys start practice earlier. Your first tournament's earlier. So it's really kind of like a month, right? A month before that first tournament.
You get a couple of weeks. You get a couple of weeks of preseason before your first show of open ski. You get that first show under your belt, and then you start to hit your stride with your kind of regular, more efficient practices.
So when is that? When is those regular, more efficient practices?
For us, it'll be after a first show. It'll be, we'll start some before that, but again, you don't have your full cast. It's like generally the first or second week of June before you have everybody, and then you start to hit your stride with your core kind of practice schedule.
And what does that look like? Your core, like if you had to say core practice schedule, like lay it out Monday through whenever, what does core practice schedule look like for Mad City?
Yeah, so for us, Monday and Tuesday are full team practice nights, and on those nights, there'll either be specific act practices or we will chunk through stuff, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We'll get into more of that when we talk kind of show run-throughs and stuff. But Monday and Tuesday are full team nights. We are like RAJ, and it's ballet out of the gate. Sometimes it's open, or sometimes we do jump early. Like we have jump practice at 5:15 or 5:30. And then we roll into ballet and still sprinkle out some jump stuff in between ballet sets. But it's ballet on the water at 6 or 6:15, both Monday and Tuesday night. And then it's specific act practices. We might do, ballet, big act, pyramids on a given night. And then like onesie, twosie, montage boats can go out while big pyramids are going. We're trying to keep things moving, but Monday and Tuesday night are our full team nights where we're cranking out our biggest stuff.
Dave, is that kind of same for you guys in terms of after Memorial Day, then the structure, your practices get a little more team structured?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about already, same thing. Usually the first week or two after June, that's when things kind of settle themselves in and we get in tournament mode. And I would say 2 weeks prior to Mercury, we're somewhat locked in as you can be for Mercury, right? And we have, I think one thing is we have the benefit, we've talked about this before, Matt has mentioned a bunch of times, we have 2 shows a week.
Oh, you have a Wednesday show. You have a Wednesday show.
So when you are like, same thing, the dreaded first tournament, right? And you're working toward that, you have to go ahead and you have to put on that show, right? And so you get those multiple repetitions in that show. We're usually putting our first show on. This has been like this now for a number of years, and I started it probably 15 years ago, is that our first Sunday show is a Sunday before Memorial Day. We'll do a Wednesday show that'll be just like an exhibition show. The next Sunday show, so the first Sunday in June, will be our first theme show. No matter what, we're going to put it out on the water. And then that gives us a good 4 or 5 shows prior to Mercury and being able to go ahead and work that production aspect in. So
if you have shows Wednesday and Sunday, what does your practice schedule look like for the rest of the week?
Yep, we're Sunday show, Monday practice, Tuesday practice, Wednesday show, which is nice because once Wednesday gets done, aside from our Junior J program, we don't see one another, and everybody gets a nice break from Wednesday night all the way through Sunday night. So,
yep, makes sense. All right, and Mad City Junior practice is also Thursday.
Yeah, we moved that from Mondays probably 5 or 6 years ago, actually modeling after the Jays. It just makes total sense with tournament weeks and things of that nature to have juniors on Thursday.
All right, what do you guys do nightly to make sure practice is efficient and successful? We already kind of talked about hey, be prepared going into practice, right? Not writing the whiteboard during practice. But other than that, I mean, how do you keep things moving? Are you, if you've got a pyramid going out, obviously it takes time to reset that if you want to do it again. Are you sending out skiers in between? And what are you doing to maximize the efficiency and water time for everybody? Matt, you want to start with this one?
Sure. Yeah, it's so planning practice is takes work. You can't just show up, tell the boats to show up, and then write some stuff on the whiteboard. You might get lucky that it works out, but generally you have to be thoughtful about, if you're not doing big act on a particular night, do those kids have to even be at practice? Or are they coming and you haven't done big act and then all the kids are running around and then parents are mad they didn't ski? You have to think about that. And what acts are you doing in succession? Does it make sense to, do some big stuff early, dismiss the lion's share of people and do some smaller individual stuff at the end? Whatever that looks like for you and your team, you have to be thoughtful about kind of your program and your agenda for practice. Same goes for drivers. If you don't need 4 drivers there or 5 drivers there, don't have them all there. They hate coming and sitting and idling or playing pickup boat. They hate it. Don't waste their time. So if you know that, if we know on a night we're going to do ballet, prefab, opening and ending pyramid, and combo, we only need jaws. We only need the 2 triple rigs. We don't need all 5 boats. Now, we'll have an inboard come because they're going to drive a bunch of jump in between some of those big pyramids, but we don't need all 5 of them. If we're doing big act, we do, and we're also thoughtful about that. So, our twin rig driver doesn't have to be there when ballet starts. He can be there at 7 when big act is going to start. And all of that takes thought from a show director to make sure that people's time isn't wasted, that you're planned and organized, that the right people are there, that the right drivers are there, and that things are moving efficiently.
JT, what do you have to add to that?
So, it's, again, totally dependent on what you have for personnel each night. So back when our team was a little bit bigger, and I was more actively the show director all the time for a number of years, we could actually set it up. So Monday night was guys' night, Tuesday night was girls' night, Wednesday night was a full team practice, Thursday was a development night, and then Sunday was our shows. So you could schedule, you really only require 2 or 3 nights for the people that really didn't need to practice, some of the stuff that needed to go out there, more of the individual stuff. But it kind of set what the goals were for each night. Obviously, guys' night, you're going to go out and you're going to do jump, barefoot, around the boats, whatever. Guys' night, we'd have some girls that would come down and do shoulder starts, that kind of thing. But it was all focused on the guys or the guys types acts. And I should probably be careful how I say that these days, but that was, that's what it was geared towards. So then the girls' nights acts were, our swivel and ballet and those kind of things. And again, those are, you don't need all your drivers. You need your ballet driver and maybe one other one to pull some swivel in between. And then when we had our full team practice, it's all hands on deck. Everyone's there. We're working on our pyramids, our big act, those kind of things that requires everybody. So that worked well for a number of years where we had enough people where we could still keep that productive. But as our team has kind of reduced the number of people we have and the number of drivers and everything else, we have to be a little bit more cognizant of understanding who can be there, because if you can't say we want to work on a pyramid tonight if you don't have most of the people you need for the pyramid. So you kind of try to figure out who you have, what can we be the most productive with what we have for that night. So it's become a little bit more of a challenge with being smaller and really just trying to be as productive as you can. And I think, when I was growing up in the team, it seems like we were there 7 nights a week, and maybe it was 5, I don't know, but we were there all the time, right? And people just don't have that kind of time to devote anymore. So I think quality over quantity for these practices makes a lot more sense. And to your point, it does take work to make sure that you're being as productive as possible with each night, because each night's different depending on
less is more I believe from a nightly standpoint, because I'd rather have 2 nights where I know everybody's going to be there than 5 nights where I only have 75% of the turnout.
100%, because you're
We're
not
just going to get more
do it
done.
Anyway. Yep.
Well, that brings up a good question. What platform are you guys using for attendance, right? Because to be able to write an efficient practice, you have to know who is going to be there and who's not going to be there, right? What Mad City uses Team Snap.
Correct.
Which we, constantly is like mark team snap. You got to get people to do it in order for it to be effective. JT, Dave, what do you guys use for like attendance? How you know who's going to be there?
We use Team Reach,
Okay.
kind of a pretty simple app. Our soccer teams locally use it too. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys are using that with other things too, but it's good at a lot of things, not great at all. But it does the job. With a calendar on there, if people really do go on and actually click whether they're attending or not, makes a big difference. So getting them to do that is, a little bit of a challenge each year, but it seems to be the most effective for at least understanding who can make it, from an attendance standpoint.
Dave, what do the Jays use?
Yeah, we use Team Snap as well.
Okay.
And so I think, now anybody who is listening to this, you start putting together these things. So Team Snap, if you're out, you sign out basically. And we found that to be easier than are you going to be at practice?
Yeah, I don't.
signing.
As a
So
show
if you're
director,
out-
I only look at who's missing. I don't look at the
That's it.
huge list of green check marks. I look at the red ones. Who's missing?
Yep. So if you're out, you sign out, and then you have to set that tone at the beginning. If you got people that aren't signing out, you need to follow up with them. I need you to sign out. And so
No, we publicly shame them on our Facebook
Yes.
page. For real. We call them out in the team Facebook page. Hey, Brady, why didn't you mark Team Snap tonight?
No, it's great. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be your best advocate as a show director, right? And you're going to live and die by that. And then we talked about it already. When you're walking out of that car, that whiteboard should be ready. If you're getting down near around the same time as others that are getting down, if you're getting down there an hour early, more power to you. That's fantastic. But if you're getting down at or around the same time, you're walking out of the car with that whiteboard. It's ready to go. And then if you can have a certain sequence to your practices, again, we've talked about it, open A-team ski, ballet on the water at a certain time, jump filling in between ballet. And now all of a sudden you're getting yourself well into from 5:30 into 7 o'clock at night. And now everybody's rolling in and you're able to go ahead and roll in that big act. You're able to go ahead and allow your app captains to put together that pyramid based off the personnel that is definitely there and on site, just in case they didn't sign into Team Snap. And so all of a sudden you start putting the puzzle pieces together and you got a nice flow to that practice.
The other sort of tip I would offer, now listening to Dave talk, thinking about that, and what we do is don't have the first thing of the night be something that requires massive amounts of people, because you're inevitably, if you want to put out your opening pyramid at 6 o'clock, inevitably 4 people are going to be late from work and rolling in late, and you're waiting, and the whole team's standing around waiting to put out pyramid. Save the big stuff for later.
100%. Yep. You are not going to get more people down there by putting big act as the first act in your practice. That's not going to work.
And I'm guessing we're all advocating too for individuals to advocate for themselves to get out and ski, like take water time. We've gotten better about that. We've developed a culture on Mad City where people are hungry to ski, and I can't keep a boat parked or somebody's disappeared in it and they're gone. I'm like, hey, where's Russ? Oh, he's out taking Parker trick skiing. Oh really? I need Russ here for that's a better problem to have than to have the boat sitting and skiers not wanting to ski. We're telling our skiers all the time, you want to take a trick run, a jump set, a swivel set, come ask me. But yeah, you're going to be able to grab a boat and go in between stuff. We'll get you out sometime tonight to do that. And people love that. It keeps them engaged.
Yeah, I mean, I take the greatest pride.
Go ahead.
No, I just take the greatest pride on a practice night. And I can't remember a practice night last summer where we started with open A-team ski, we ended with open A-team ski, and no one else wanted to ski. And the drivers are sitting at the dock. We usually have 1 or 2 drivers, and I'm excusing them on given nights so that some can get out earlier than others. And skiers don't want to ski anymore. I mean, that is a perfect night of practice when you're checking things off your whiteboard, you're accomplishing your goals, and nobody wants to do individual stuff anymore. There's no complaints. There's no complaints.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Well, speaking of practice, if you want to take your training to the next level, you need to check out Saga Sports. They're helping skiers of all levels take their game up a notch in 2026.
Yeah, that's right. One of their core benefits is trampoline training and coaching. For freestyle jump in particular, you can get the proper training on a trampoline and learn new tricks without all the harsh falls. Learn the technique and the air sense you need before you take that trick to the water.
Saga Sports is helping all sorts of athletes, and they can help you out too. Find them at sagasports.us. That's sagasports.us. All right, we're into tournament season. Do you guys do full show run-throughs during practice?
That's a pet peeve of Dave's. He didn't say it earlier. He hates full show run-throughs.
Well, they don't have to. They got 2 shows a week.
No, they don't, but what... And Dave, you can explain. He calls it lazy show directing, which it is. Right?
Go ahead, Dave.
I think a lot of times it can be, right? Like a show director wants to make sure everybody gets on the water. Oftentimes, practice nights aren't going as well as to be expected. And so what's the easiest thing to do? Let's do a show run through to make sure everything gets on the water. Well, the problem with that is nobody's going at the same pace. There's not the same urgency, certainly. And then if you do need to rerun something, if you need to do it more than 1 rep, what do you do in that instance? And things, unless they start out strong and they continue strong and they end strong, it ends up being a lot of times disappointment. Then you got the production crew yelling at the show director in terms of, well, you didn't let me know that we were going to restart this at this certain time. It turns into a bit of a cluster. And that's where, you guys came up with chunk run-throughs a number of years ago. We do that, right? And we spice it up by starting, one segment before another and switch that up. But we rarely do show run-throughs, a lot because we already have 2 shows a week. So,
JT,
and Matt,
you guys
can you
do
explain
show
everybody
run-throughs?
what chunks look like?
Oh, yeah, I can. So we do. So to Dave's point, we will do some show run-throughs, but it'll be a tournament week where we feel like we need another rep because we only have 1 show a week. So for us, like, I always view it this way. Like, by the time we get to state, the Rock Aqua Jays have had 12 to 14 ski shows, and we've had 6 or 7, and that's that many fewer reps we've had at it to be ready. It's why we generally suck at the Merc and we get better by state and nationals, is because we finally get the number of reps under our belt from a show standpoint. So sneaking in a show run through as needed, we will definitely do that. It'll be a tournament week, most likely, or sometimes 2 weeks before a tournament. It'll be once. It'll be probably a full costume run through when we do them. We feel like that adds a little bit of urgency. It also helps us with some difficult costume changes. But show run throughs take an hour to set up. You're wasting time. The front end of your night is wasted because you're setting up and it's not on the water till 7, and you've burned an hour of prime summer skiing by doing a show run through. So we've gone to chunks, and chunks have a couple of benefits. So we'll do like let's call it a 4-act chunk, and we'll run, maybe we'll run our opening. We'll run opening barefoot, opening pyramid, montage, ballet. And then we're going to time that. And Wendy's going to cue it, and we're going to time it. And then we're going to set it up and run it again. And that chunk gets 2 reps minimally. All those acts get 2 reps in a show setting. We time it. We see where we can pick up flow. We're already talking about that in between. While that's getting set up, I'm meeting with Wendy to talk about where we had flow issues, meeting with Adam. Why was that late? How can we tighten that up? And we run that chunk again. And we'll do that at various practice nights. We'll do different chunks kind of as needed. A Sunday night, maybe the flow was horrible from tandem to prefab to jump 2, and we do that chunk. And so then Monday night we decide, all right, this chunk needs work. And guess what? We're practicing prefab, tandem, and jump 2. All major acts in our show all get reps back-to-back in a night. And then we're tightening up flow and working on timing without doing a full show run through. We're doing 3 or 4 or 5-act chunks, but we're doing those back-to-back for multiple reps.
Yeah, and it's a huge help to stage because to get the timing down, you go through the first chunk and you're like, holy smokes, it was 2 minutes between those 2 acts. What was the issue? You just get more, again, it's just more reps for stage to kind of figure out the timing between acts. JT, so we... Dave and Matt obviously have their opinions on full show run-throughs. What is yours?
I mean, not too different. And honestly, I mean, I feel like even back to the Dells, that's how when we were implementing a new show, you ran, you picked out what your acts were. You knew the first however many acts were going to flow, whether it's, the barefoot act and then it's into this and this into that. And it's like everybody is, used in those first few. Let's get through there and then find out where our weak points are. And then, if there is a problem, we stop, we figure it out, we fix it. If we need to run it again, we do. If not, then we go into, the goal isn't to get through the show necessarily, the whole show. It's to run it from the beginning. This obviously is a progression as the year goes on, but you start with your first few acts and you can look at your act order and say, this is where we should stop it. This is the logical point. It's a reset of some sort, whether it's a land act or whatever. That's where you would stop it naturally. So you get through that first part, and if all goes well, then we'll move into the next one. And if there's something that needs to be worked on, we'll back up and make sure we fix it. So it's easier to fix it on the spot than it is to get through, than to just say, we're just going to keep going. And now you get to the end of the whole run through, and you're trying to remember all the things that you needed to stop and work on. It's easier, in my opinion, to just fix it on the spot, run it again, take any questions out of it, and then move on to the next chunk or whatever. And if you don't get through it all the first day, you don't, but you're fixing it as you go. So next time you do it, it should be, everybody knows what's going on. So that's kind of how we run it. And, like I said, we're not so worried about getting through the whole show. And then there's certain acts you don't need to run. I mean, there's just certain ones you don't need to throw into there. You can kind of skip and go to the next. Maybe it's more of a personal act or whatever that doesn't need the full team attention or the flow part of it or the transitions. But no, I think for me, it was always those transitions are the biggest worry for me. Was the skiing is kind of the skiing, and we'll get there, or falls happen, but it's the transition between each act. And that's where I was always the most nervous, just because especially as a skier, you don't always know what's going on the stage and how that's going and the communication there. So yeah, there's a lot of things to work on in those chunks, and you just try to keep them productive for everybody.
Everybody agrees. Show skiing has a term, and it's called chunking. So let's say we're a week out from a tournament. What does that tournament week practice schedule look like? Is it different than other weeks? If so, what does that schedule look like for the week of a tournament?
In my opinion, it's the easiest week to do practice, to run a practice from a show directing standpoint. Because if you've been consistent in your approach up into that tournament week, whether it be state or nationals, everybody should be locked in. They should know what you are practicing. They should know that sequence. People are arriving early because they want to get that extra rep in. They want to get that extra practice time. And in all honesty, unless you've got personnel questions going into that last week with an act here and act there, which is completely normal, to me, tournament weeks are the easiest weeks to show direct.
Yeah, really, it is like those. It's the weeks where the personnel is growing. Acts are getting bigger. Your opening and ending pyramids are getting bigger. That and you're plugging more people in different places. That becomes a challenge from a practice standpoint. So it's a challenge on execution, and it's a challenge on flow. So as things get bigger throughout the summer, it starts to impact flow. And I know maybe it sounds like a big team problem, but I'm guessing all teams have it, is your ending pyramid gets larger throughout the year. It takes longer to shuttle more people out to the barge for pyramid if you take it off from a remote barge. So when we start the year with, 24 people in pyramid at the first show, that's a lot easier than when we were doing 40 and we got to have another extra 2 shuttle boats to get people out and get twinked up and get set up. It just takes longer. And so working on the flow aspect of that during tournament weeks is important to have those reps for flow, not just, locking in your personnel and having your execution locked in. For us, it's because of the fewer reps. Flow is always my biggest concern going into a tournament, because we do a show run through at home, right, Adam? And it's 105.
Yep.
It's 105. And actually, we know if we're 105, we're good at state and nationals, because it literally is 5 minutes getting out of the water for introductions at our site. All the big acts landing on rocks, and we pick up 5 minutes at anybody else's site, and so we know that. Now if we're timing out at 108, we're like, oh shit, we got to tighten some stuff up. But yeah, flow is a big one for me, kind of tournament week, getting that final touch is locked in on that, so our timing is perfect.
JT, how
We're
about you guys?
opposite. If we're at like 58, we're in trouble at going to state.
Yeah.
We know that because
it's a little wider. Drivers drive it bigger.
And they've got wider. They're gonna take wider patterns. They may go longer on the west end.
Ballet circle
their
gets
boundaries
bigger.
aren't the same. And it's always good. So unless we're at right around 58 minutes going into state, we know that we're in some trouble.
Your livestock didn't make it down the hill in time. I mean, all those kind of things.
That's
that every other
There's
team
so
deals
many
with.
things that could go wrong.
Yes.
JT, how about you guys the week before a tournament? What does that look like for you?
Probably a little different than everybody else, I imagine. We're kind of setting things up and skiing when we can. And no, it's just like anybody else. I mean, we're trying to figure out, honestly, I'm guessing other teams are like this too, but there's probably, including state, 2, maybe like state is the 3rd time where you have all the people that you need in the one show. So like that last week is really trying to just get, and that's kind of the last week, the last push. So that week of state, it's Monday. We're usually doing a run through. We do our shows on Thursdays, so we used to do them on Sundays. But now, even with the practice weekend at Wazeecha is pretty much sun up to sundown both Saturday and Sunday. So now we're kind of on the back end of that the previous week, and then going into Monday. We're basically running run-throughs Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday we back off and just really button up our stage stuff and that kind of thing, and just make sure we're ready to go on all the logistics of things and whatever. But by then, we're not going to change much at that point. So it's really just making sure everybody knows what's going on and getting the stage stuff right.
Yeah. Do you guys limit your star skiers from trying new, crazier things right before a tournament?
Yes. For sure. For sure. Like, we've got a handful of guys that are, how do you say, entrepreneurial in their skill set, maybe. And they think, hey, I'm going to try this. And it's, no, let's think about that. Let's think of the value that you bring to the team. Let's think, do we want to
Well, we want to do this
now?
for Team Jump. Can we go out and try
They wanna
this?
do
Don't get me started on Team Jump.
Team Jump, or you know what? Hey, I did this a couple years ago or a number of years ago, and so I can bring this to the act, right? I can do this type of start, for example, to the act. And no, we don't need it. What we need to do is we need to execute what we're doing, and we need to go ahead and come in clean. We need to come in dry, and we need to do a full intro. And so I think that for me is, to your point, the week before state or week before nationals, there's usually 2 or 3, and they know it's coming. They know if they try it, it's there's going to be a conversation, right? And usually it's, why don't we wait until next week? And then they happen to forget about it next week, or next week is kind of lay low, chill out, and hopefully we forget about it moving forward. So.
I thought it would be more points if I did this. That's always it.
Well, sometimes the individual thing pops in and it's hard. So like a couple years ago, I struggled with it with Derek Buckman, and I didn't really. I let him do his thing. I trusted him. So and for the most part, with an elite athlete, I feel like you put your trust in them to know what to do. But like he was grinding for nationals jump and working on his back halves, and he wasn't super. There's a point where he wasn't super consistent, and he was taking some falls in back halves. I was like, God, if that guy gets hurt before the tournament, we are screwed. And he ended up winning D1 Nationals jump, making his back half, winning D1 Nationals jump. The next year he won skip. But those are moments as a show director because you know how valuable he is to your show. Like if that guy gets hurt, we are screwed. And he dealt with some injuries. And so then you're just walking that line of trusting him versus, dude, you're in 9 acts. I need you for all of these. It's a tough conversation, but at the end of the day, there's some athletes you just got to trust them to do their thing.
Yeah. And Mad City, I am talking directly to you right now. I do recall when we interviewed the Catfish Bay jump team, their team jump is exactly the same as the jump act in their show. And it's all about reps. They're not trying crazy stuff, putting new people in different spots. Just saying. Yeah. I mean, there's a challenge with that with RAJ2 and us. And it's a big team problem. But both of our teams could probably roll out 3 jumpers, 1 boat, 1 ski each, and put out a potentially winning jump act. That is not all inclusive of the other 8 jumpers on the team. And then you're going to tell them, we're going to sit you because, in fact, we're playing team jump to win, and that's a tough conversation. Okay, good point.
So are you trying to be all-inclusive, or are you trying to win? And I don't know the right answer, but you're right. Catfish Bay does what they do really well.
Yep.
Sure do.
JT mentioned stage. Adam, let's talk stage for you and for everybody. Do you guys practice your stage and theme stuff on practice nights in addition to water practice? What is that looking like with your announcer and stage crew during the week, during your Monday, Tuesday practices?
Well, basically, if there's a full team practice, stage is expected to be there. And, if we're not chunking, right, which we love chunking because it helps us with timing because we'll do our skits in between those acts during the chunking. But if it's, a full team practice where they're putting out some pyramids or whatever, we're just running through the whole show, right? We're going to I'll say, all right, we're going to do the first skit run it through 3 reps so that we at least have, if we can get the timing within 10 seconds of each other, so we know we have some consistency, and then we'll move on to the next one. So it's just it's just like you're working on the different skiing acts. We're working on the different skits and just trying to get reps. And I like to do it at the site because obviously that's where we do shows. So yeah, when the big team's down there, we're down there. All right, last question.
Well,
go ahead.
Dave and Dave, I want to hear from Dave and JT on this. Do you guys do similarly? Does your stage practice or not only shows?
Dave, you go first.
I would say traditionally. So again, 2 nights a week we have full shows, so they're getting those really solid, beneficial, valuable reps in, and then our entire production team will be on site at least for one of the 2 practices. With that being said, they live by that whiteboard just like the skiers live by that whiteboard, and so they will come down. BC, Brad, Jared, Logan, they'll come down. They'll check out the board to see what chunk through is on the board that night, what they can do with what is set up, and they will then go ahead and be prepared themselves without prompting in terms of, filling in the production or getting the reps with the production. I mean, I really, really value that, right? Like unless they're reaching out to me the prior day or the day of and saying, hey, we would really like to get this additional rep, which definitely occurs every once in a while. They're just following along with what the whiteboard says, and they can expect there's at least a breakdown or a chunk through at some point in time, which, again, they find value in.
JT?
I wish I had just a solid answer to give you guys, but I'll be honest, like this is an area where our team struggles. I don't know that we've had the same announcer for more than a couple years at a time. It kind of moves back and forth. We just don't have the consistency, honestly, to sit here and pretend we have an awesome way to do things, which I'm guessing a lot of teams can identify with, and that makes it a struggle. You're trying to figure out, who's going to be your announcer from year to year, or how that looks, whether we're bringing other people in, and so it's ever changing, and a lot of the people that we're relying on to be on stage are we're relying on in other areas too. So I wish I had a better answer for you than we just honestly sometimes just have to wing it and throw people under the bus. And when you're on the stage with the script the first few shows, you just hope, and a lot of them do take it upon themselves to try to do what they can there, but it is a struggle for us. We don't have the personnel that we have a stage crew. The stage people we have are chasing kids in between acts so that the parents can go out and ski. So we're we got a lot of moving parts, but we make the best of it. Somehow generally comes together. But like I said, I'm not going to pretend to have an awesome answer here for this one.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of teams in that boat. And Mad City is going to have a new announcer this year, and I told him, like, hey, go down to as many practices as you can go down to, and if they're pulling big act off the main dock, while they're doing that, get on the microphone and announce that.
I would say that is something that's a great point in being there and understanding it, and the people are going to get out of it what they put into it. If they're going to the theme meetings and they're getting the script and they're involved with the process and they understand why the show is written this way and why this act orders the way it is, all those transitions, the more that your announcers are involved with that process, or your stage crew, or somebody that's in charge of it, whether it's your sound person or whoever it is, somebody needs to have that connection. Otherwise, you can't just hand them a script in June and expect them to go out on the stage and deliver a show that you're wanting to have. I mean, that's right. The more they're a part of that process. And again, you can't get everybody to be all in, as much as you guys are fortunate to have with your teams. But again, a lot of teams go through that, and I think the more you can try to include them, it's just going to make everybody's job easier.
Yeah, and really, to all announcers, if you go to practice, there's always going to be something for you to announce, whether it's a start off the main dock or a landing or a jump. Just work on it, right? Say it out loud on the microphone. Work on your cadence. Work on your, your wording, your timing, all of that. Because again, it's just like a full show run through. It's all about repetition. The more times you say it on the microphone, the more comfortable you get with it, and less you have to think about it when it actually comes to the show. So, there you go. Stage practice. Just do it a lot. Last question for all of you. How can skiers help make practice better? There's got to be things. I mean, obviously, right?
Yeah, I mean, besides being on time.
Yeah, being on time and signing and letting you know if they're not going to be there.
My initial thought is like, be engaged, listen, be ready. Show directors, this a segue tangent here. Show directors have to be leaders at practice. You have to move people. One of the most important things you're going to do in running a practice is hollering to move people. What's next? Knowing what's next. What's on deck? Having it ready. Moving, talking, leading, nonstop. When the show director's doing that, be ready. Listen. Where can you be a leader yourself and lend a hand? Can you run ropes? Can you help someone out of the water? Can you grab a boat and go ski and perfect your craft for a montage act? Whatever you can do as a leader to be more engaged and be more helpful and be more productive, I think will help make practice better.
JT?
No, I think to that point too, just anticipating what comes next. Like, there's always something to do, and I think we all kind of run into that struggle. Like, you know that the ballet boat is coming in, and there's a crap load of ropes that need to be rolled before anything else can happen. It's just those little things like just stepping in, grab a rope, just let's get to, anything you can do to get on to the next thing. Showing up early and getting things set up. I think it drives everybody crazy when, kind of the same people come down and they're not really sure what to do. Well, the equipment trailer always needs to be unloaded, and those things always need to be set up. End of practice, if things are done, getting them back into the trailer, and just those little things like that can really go a long way. It's not even so much what you're doing on the water. It's those little things that just anticipating. What needs to happen. Somebody's going to have to roll this rope. That person's off doing whatever. That stuff like that goes a long way.
Dave?
I think it's just a different way of saying what JT and Matt said. I feel like two words that I constantly say every single night of practice is be ready. Be ready. Triple heli, be ready. Ginny, be ready. It goes on and on and on. Like, just be ready, because if they're ready, then we can keep the flow of practice going. We can keep everybody, the boats on the water, the skiers moving. We can make it through, again, what's on the whiteboard. Be ready. And so if skiers can just simply stay one step ahead and listen to, as the show practice is called out, or see what's on the whiteboard, the more they can be ready, the smoother the practice will go.
Yes, there you have it. Whether you're a show director or you're a skier or you're on stage, hopefully there's some takeaways from this podcast you can take back to your team as we roll into this new season. And I think if we were to sum it all up, at the end of the day, this is all about being more efficient, because if you're more efficient, you get more reps. The more reps you have, the better your team is, the better your show is. End of story.
Can I make mention, and you guys may decide to cut this out, but can I make mention of one other, and I want to see if it's a pet peeve of any other team out there. Team meetings prior to the show, announcements prior to the show. So like, we go ahead and we have multiple announcements. Say there's costume announcements and there's concessions and whatnot. And he asked for all those messages, all those announcements to be done prior to you getting into the kind of the meat and potatoes of what we're trying to accomplish that given night. And of course, there's somebody that forgets to go ahead and make their announcements. So you get them all hyped up for that show or for the show and what we're trying to accomplish. And then someone raises their hand and says, and remember, go ahead and launder your costumes in draft, or, don't dry your costumes this way. Or, hey, we need 2 more people for the concessions, or whatnot. After you've just given them the best, win one for the Gipper, they go ahead and they make some sort of talking announcement. That's one of my pet peeves. I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, keep those team meetings brief because, man, I tell you, they get too long and you get all those extra announcements. My attention span for that is short, and you'll find me drifting away.
I'm famous for running short team meetings.
I've heard the opposite. I don't know if that's true or false.
Well, the two of you together, I've seen your team meetings, and oh my God, pack a lunch.
There's detail to cover.
Yep.
All right. Well, Dave, thank you. JT, thank you guys. Good luck with your seasons. I'm sure we'll run into each other sooner or later.
Yeah. Thanks for doing the show. Thank you to our sponsors today, the Board Shop. All your summer and winter board sports gear is yours at bswake.com, and Saga Sports, trampoline training, on water training. Check them out at sagasports.us.
And, of course, thanks again to all our listeners and our viewers. This is Matt and Adam, and this is The Ski Show.
Thank you for listening to The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast with Matt and Adam. If you have questions or ideas for the show, find us on social media or message us at theskishowpodcast@gmail.com.